Nathan, it's good to have you today. Welcome back to campus, and I know that this is familiar territory for you. You're an alum of the school and worked here for a number of years, and so I appreciate you taking time to be with me today to talk about insurance and life and who knows what else we'll get into. So thank you for being here.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, let's start back at the beginning. Tell me about your upbringing. Your parents are alumni, and so this was kind of in your DNA to come here to school.
Yep.
Tell me about some of that, your upbringing. I think you were a pastor's kid or something.
So I grew up in pastor's home. My parents both attended here, met here. Kind of a long story short with my dad, like his life was transformed by coming here, got saved, I think maybe a month or two before showing up on campus here. And this, like, he came from a terrible background, and this was life transforming for him. Met my mom here, and he and my mom were pastors, and they worked in Christian schools, different things like that. So that was just kind of, growing up, that's the life that I knew. Okay. Always in church 4 times, a week or whatever. And so that was just kind of a part of who we were.
Sure.
And growing up, always knew that they had talked about Bible college and things of that nature. I actually had sort of thought about attending a different Bible college. And I actually was in a library, and I was looking at the God's Revivalist. I was a senior in high school.
Are you trying to impress me?
No, I'm not. This is the honest truth. This is the honest truth.
Is there any other senior in high school that reads the God's Revivalist?
Well, in all transparency, I wasn't reading the God's Revivalist. I just picked it up and looked at it.
Okay.
And I looked at the front of it, and I looked at the back of it. And I think it was like a choir picture or something on the back, as my memory goes back and thinks about it. And I just remember seeing everything on there, and I thought, everything on here is right. It looks right. Everything looks, just everything about it just fit. And I thought, I need that in my life. I want that in my life. I was never a great student, but I'm like, I need somebody that doesn't need me, that they're on their own, they're very good, and I need to learn from that.
Wow.
And that actually, kind of funny, that steered me then back over here to GBS, and I showed up in 2003. Oh, wow. Gracious, a long time ago. 2003 to 2007, and I would like to say that Revivalist really did. But I wasn't a great student here at school. I made it through, But anyways, so that's kind of how I got here.
Yeah. So you came to school 2003. And you stuck around to 2007. I think you did some PR travels for the school.
Yeah.
And was that transformative, or was that kind of a bad thing?
No, it was honestly, this place really did change my life in a lot of ways. I got to interact with people who were very professional, but also Christian. My worldview actually expanded greatly, and a lot of it was through those travels.
Wow.
And I got to go all over the United States and multiple countries and do all kinds of things. We traveled extensively, and it was a huge blessing. Like I said, I wasn't a great student, but I felt like a lot of the life experience that I learned while traveling was just incredible. Wow. Interacting with pastors and lay people all over, all kinds of denominations. I learned about how big the church was.
Sure.
And it was transforming in my life. Yeah.
So good. So 2007 rolls around, and you decide to go to mortuary school, right?
Yeah.
So how did that happen? I mean, how do you go from Bible college to the funeral business?
Well, it's actually kind of makes sense when you hear the story. So because my dad was a pastor, I thought, well, I want to be involved with people. And I knew that I loved people. Sure. I knew that I wanted to be involved in people's lives. I got here and I learned really quick that I like people, but I don't know that I'm the guy to be breaking the bread of life every Sunday. That was maybe not my forte.
So you're not going to be a Pastor Dahler.
So probably Pastor Dahler. But then, like in the culture that I grew up, there weren't like, you were like either a lead pastor or not a pastor.
Right.
So the idea of like, a community pastor, administrative. That was not even on my radar as
Sure,
even like possible.
sure.
So it's like, well, if I'm not going to be a lead pastor, I got to find something else.
Right.
And it was honestly, I was panicked.
Okay.
And Tom Sproles opened up his funeral home somewhere, I'm assuming in the 2006, 2000, I don't know exactly the year.
Sure.
I went to the open house there and I was like, this is cool. I think I could do this. And this would be, I'm not preaching, but I'm dealing with people.
That's right.
And so,
In their time of need.
yeah.
So.
I was at the time, my wife is Liz, as you know. I was dating her. And so we were kind of like, that was getting serious. So her brother-in-law, which became my brother-in-law, was also a funeral director.
Oh, wow.
And so I thought, well, this is kind of interesting. So I went and shadowed him, watched an embalming, talked to Tom a little bit, and I thought, this is a direction I can go. My dad always laughed because, he would go deer hunting and I wanted nothing to do with it. He's like, you can't even field dress a deer. How are you going to take care of a person? I'm like, well, you don't field dress people.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's good to know. Yeah.
it's not quite so bad. So anyways, I went to mortuary school here in Cincinnati after got married, and that was 2008, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so how long did you stay in the funeral business?
Yeah. So I was in Northern Kentucky until 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
So nearly
Yeah.
10 years, something like that.
about 8 years.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was awesome. I loved the people. I loved dealing with people. Again, actually, I would go to people's homes, and that was where like even the GBS, I've been to hundreds of people's homes.
Oh, wow.
And I knew how to walk into someone's home and hopefully have a conversation with them.
Sure.
So some of that training came right back.
Sure.
I could sit down and pray with families.
Wow.
It was I loved it.
Wow. But something happened, right? In that time frame, 2014-ish. And you came back to work here at God's Bible School and College.
Yeah.
Can you let us know a little bit of what happened and how that transpired from funeral business to student recruitment?
Well, if I'm not anything, I'm extreme. So I swing around. So my wife and I were living just kind of the American dream. We were not in a bad way, but just kind of living our lives, doing our thing. She was a nurse at the time. I was working in the funeral industry. Life was good. I think we'd had our first child at that point. And I just started sensing like I'm kind of, I enjoyed the praying with people in the funeral business, but I just sort of felt like a lot of it was I was kind of living for a paycheck. And I just felt like there's got to be more. I want to do something more with my life than just having made a living.
Sure.
And so I started praying about it and talking to my wife about it. And I'm like, I had applied to a couple other ministry things, and I don't know where I saw it, but Dr. Prophet somehow put out this thing about needing someone here with the enrollment services, and I didn't even know what enrollment services was necessarily, but I'm like, okay, I know GBS.
Right.
It's a ministry. It's a great place. And so I started talking to my wife about it. She was, I would say, against it.
We need to have her on. So
she was against it at first, but we just kept talking about it, and she started feeling like, I think actually this really is. So then I had to kind of explain to my in-laws and people I worked with, like, I'm going to make a decision here, a move here that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Wow.
But it is the right move for us, and we loved it.
Wow.
We were here for 4 years.
Right.
Fantastic. Wow. It was 4 highlight years of my life.
Sure.
Loved every second of it.
Sure. So I arrived 2016, and things are going well. You're into that position. You're doing fantastic. One day you come in my office and you're like, "Hey, I think this is the end of the road."
Yeah.
And I don't think I'll forget that conversation because I was devastated because you have somebody in that position who is outgoing, connected, knows how to just get involved in students' lives, and now what are we going to do? And you told me, and I don't know if you remember this, but you told me in that meeting, you said, one of these days, you're going to come back and thank me for this resignation, and I really thought you had lost your mind. I thought, man, this is crazy. But
You're
the
welcome.
Lord, the Lord brought somebody who has personality and has ability, but excels in systems and processes, and that's exactly what you said we needed. And they've taken it to the next level. You brought us along significantly, and then we're at a new level. But what a day that was! But again, it was a transition. So Bible college to the funeral business, back to enrollment services, and then into the field of insurance. And, I don't think, Nathan, that anyone I know has ever dressed up as an insurance agent on career day in high school. So I mean, connect some dots. How do we get from here to there?
It's funny. In the insurance world, everybody talks about that. Like, everyone accidentally gets into insurance. Nobody means to. My kids might be the only people that dress up as an insurance agent, for those days.
Do you write that off on taxes?
We're definitely going to try if we can. Image, likeness, and all those kinds of things. Yeah, exactly. So I was here. We loved it. Very involved with the kids, or I should say students. We were having the time of our lives. And through a series of circumstances, it just was time. I just knew it was time to move on, and didn't know exactly what that looked like. Again, applied a few different things. And Randy Riggs, who was also an alumnus of the school here, someone that I had gone to summer camps with as a kid, he put on his Facebook that looking for entrepreneurs, Shelter Insurance is moving into Ohio. And I'm like, well, like you said, that's out of left field, but I'm entrepreneurial. I'll give him a call. So I gave him a call. We met for Skyline, one of my favorite places in the world, and started talking to me about what the opportunity looked like. There were no agencies here in Ohio, so it was going to be starting with me, myself. That's it. So 0 clients, 0 anything, and here we go. And I was like, well, one nice thing about working at a Bible college is it's not a big risk to go to the next level financially. So
that's true.
So it wasn't like I didn't have a huge, payroll that I had to refill. So it worked out, and you were very gracious. We rented here from the school for a while till the next kind of person came in, and so that's kind of how I got started in the industry. Just like you said, very accidental.
Right.
It just seemed like a good fit. I talked to a lot of people. They're like, I think you could do well at this. And so that's kind of where it's at.
So you take an insurance agency from 0, right? And you just do what you do, right? You just get in there and work hard. Your people skills obviously are shining. And all of a sudden I start seeing where you're getting awards, and you're the top guy. Maybe because you're the only guy in Ohio. I don't know, but
when there's only 3, it's not that hard. No, I'm just teasing. Yeah.
But it wasn't just Ohio; it was regional, and you're the top agency, and you're going here and going there, and then I start seeing that it's expanding. Right, and so you're hiring, and your wife, I think, even works for you now. So
she doesn't anymore.
Okay,
that was a failed experiment because of me, not because of her. Yeah, she's a fantastic employee. For the record, you'd be lucky to have her.
Make sure you put that in. And you're continuing to grow, right? And so Shelter Insurance is new. Was it easy to sell? Did you find it just natural, or was it
ironically?
Difficult?
Again, God's timing is very, very good. I'm stepping away, bringing in the right person here for you. But at the same time, a lot of those connections that I had, I felt like people trusted me. And when you're dealing with any sort of financial services at all, trust is a huge deal. And so I felt like people did trust me. I knew a ton of people. And Shelter was new in Ohio, but they've been around for, 80 years or something. So Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, those kinds of places, Tennessee. Well, those are our bread and butter when I worked here. So I was traveling in those circles, Indiana, and Shelter had been around in those places. So people just started calling me. And it was It was amazing. Of course, obviously working hard.
Yeah.
So we've grown to about $3 million
Okay.
in annualized premium.
Okay.
So that, I was actually talking to some people yesterday. So that's been in about, since 2018.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
So it's been,
There are people that have been in the insurance business for their life that would
Yeah.
love to have that kind of portfolio.
Yeah. So it's been, God's been blessed us in many ways. Now we've taken those, as we've grown and tried to grow more. So we've got about 3 employees now.
Okay.
We've just opened up another office up on the north side of Cincinnati and Lebanon.
Oh, that's great.
So it's been an exciting venture, exciting journey. Yeah.
Yeah, but a new world, right? Insurance.
Whole new world.
And insurance is one of those things in our world that people either love it or hate it. They love
Most hate it.
Well,
Most
they love
hate
it when something's wrong, right? And they wreck their car and they get a settlement. Or they love it when their house burns down and they had the right coverage.
Yeah.
But you hate it when you're writing those premium checks
Yeah.
because it feels like it just feels like you're getting robbed.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of service am I getting for this premium? And it feels like that in the last 5 years or so, unfortunately for you, that insurance rates have been all over the map.
Yep.
So from your vantage point, okay,
Yeah.
you're an outsider who comes into this world. Insurance is new.
Yeah.
Can you help us, the dummies like me, understand the ebbs and flows and hows and whys of insurance? And just don't do a deep dive, but just kind of a flyover.
Well, let's do a master's level education here quickly. We're on a, educational campus. No, you're exactly right. And probably one of the number one things that I hear that people just don't understand is I hear all the time, insurance is a scam. It's a scam. You're just taking my money. And what I will tell you is that insurance, and I will talk to people about this all the time. If I were selling like cars, it'd be amazing because I can hand you something.
Right.
You drive off the lot and you feel really good. What insurance is actually an idea.
Okay.
And so I have to try to help somebody understand when you're actually buying an idea. And the idea is that we are in a group of people together and we're actually taking care of each other. Very, very Christian in a lot of ways. And so what happens is maybe I don't need it this year. And so we're going to take premiums that you've paid and you're going to pay for this guy. And premiums I pay, I don't need it. So we're going to take my premiums, we're going to pay for this guy's problem. And then next year, you might have a problem. And so we're going to take that guy who didn't have a wreck the next year. And so I would tell you almost everybody will have some sort of insurance claim in their life. Very few people don't. But a lot of people, so I've paid for 40 years and I've never gotten anything out of it. And that's true. But good for you. You didn't have problems in your life. That's actually a good thing.
But that's kind of an outlier, right?
It is an outlier.
And you would say that statistically, people are going to have a claim. How often? Do you have that off the top of your head?
I tell people, think about, you're probably going to have an automobile claim about every 10 years.
Okay.
Home claims, they're kind of all over the map. Here's just a little interesting anecdote.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will get frustrated because if they have multiple claims, an insurance company will drop them.
Sure, right.
And that is very frustrating.
Very.
But one of the things that insurance is all built on just actuarial science, which I'm not an actuarial scientist.
Oh,
but
man,
I know.
thought we'd get into that
If
next.
you would like to, we can do a 2 or 3 hour podcast on that if you'd like.
No thanks.
But anyways, I don't even know where I was going with that. Statistically, if you have a claim, you're more likely to have another claim.
Really?
Yes. So that's one of the reasons that you'll see increases and things like that when you have claims. But you talked about the last few years. Multiple things happened all at one time.
Sure.
So when COVID hit, those were great years. We were still collecting premiums.
But people weren't driving.
No one was driving.
Wow.
Everyone was sitting in their house, and your house is most vulnerable when no one's there. So if you have a little water leak or something like that, you're there, you're going to take care of it, you don't have claims.
Wow.
So everyone's sitting at home, no house claims, no one's driving, so no car claims. Well, insurance rates are built on historical losses.
Okay.
Well, so the next year comes, and we have hardly any losses.
Right.
So we are making money hand over fist. It was so fun. I would call clients. We were literally giving checks back to people. We're making too much money. You got to take some of this money back.
Wow.
Those were good years.
Yeah.
We didn't know what was coming. Inflation hit,
Sure.
and then everybody went back to work and back to driving gangbusters, and everyone's angry all of a sudden.
Sure.
People are driving like madmen. And so we have what they call frequency, which is how often accidents happen, and severity, which when accidents happen, how expensive is it to fix it. Both of those went through the roof.
Sure.
Simultaneously, you've got inflation hitting. And so insurance companies over the next few years lost billions and billions and billions. Well, I always tell people, you actually want your insurance company to be very rich.
Okay.
The reason is because when your house burns to the ground, you need them to be able to write $1 million check and not blink. And I can't do that. I know God's Bible School probably can, but
You're at the wrong place.
but very few people have that ability. So you've got to have a backing behind you that can do that.
So inflation has a direct impact on insurance.
Yeah. But it's lagging.
Okay.
Because again, we're built on historical losses.
Okay.
So all that happens, and then the year later, then we're seeing, we lost, for every dollar we collected, we're taking on, $1.50 in claims.
Okay.
So you're losing, and you multiply that millions of times. It's horrible.
And with inflation, it's in the price of cars, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, a fender on a car is now much more than it was.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, replacement cost for a house that was
through the
$100,000 when you bought it. It's $300,000 today.
That's right.
Somebody's got to pay that if there's a claim on that. So wow.
Well, and people will call me all the time. Why are the rates up? And I'm like, well, do you want us to pay current rates on your car, or do you want us to pay rates from 2020 on your car?
Oh, it's interesting.
It's like, well, we prefer today. Like, okay, well then you got to pay the premiums that today require.
So if someone were to call you, grandma's calling you today, your grandma, you love her dearly.
Yeah.
She says, Nathan, I need insurance.
Yeah.
And you're the one that's going to sell her. Mm-hmm. What would you leave off as a luxury thing?
Yeah.
And what would you add that people sometimes omit that they should have on their claims?
Yeah. Couple things. This would just be if you have a house. Water backup is one of the number one claims we see.
Okay.
And you'll see a lot of times, particularly from old times, they have like $5,000 in coverage.
Okay.
That does not cover it.
Okay.
So people have a basement backup with water, and it's just so that's a huge one.
Okay.
I always tell people, think of insurance as catastrophic loss coverage.
Okay.
So a lot of times people are like, I had a guy call me, the wind blew and broke my screen door on my back porch, and I'm like, go fix it.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like
that's not catastrophic.
That's not catastrophic. So I'm a huge fan of very high deductibles.
Okay.
Again, that's dependent on where you're at in your financial situation, but very high deductibles. So you don't want to give the insurance company more money than you have to. Mm-hmm. If you're going to take care of small claims yourself, there's no reason to have a low deductible.
Sure.
So if the tornado comes through and rips the roof off your house, do you really care if it's $1,000 or $2,500 at that point? It's not that big a deal.
Okay.
That's huge. Liability is actually the biggest risk you have.
Really?
Yes. I see all the time.
So explain that. So we're talking to folks that, sometimes these terms go right over head.
Yeah.
What do you mean by liability?
So there's two sides to insurance. Okay. And if I ask 95% of people, tell me about your car insurance, they'll tell me one of two things. I have liability only, or I have full coverage.
Right.
That's all they know.
That's correct.
And that's one of the reasons why I tell people you want an agent.
Okay.
Is because someone who actually help you understand your coverage things. Liability is if I do something negligent or something like that, and there's my fault, but you take the loss.
Sure.
So I'm responsible for your loss.
So kind of a lawsuit.
A lawsuit, but I mean anything much less than that as well. But if I run into your car, I'm responsible for that. I'm liable for that. Okay. So if my car is destroyed, and I have a $500 deductible.
Sure. Let's stop there. Let's go back to the house so that we're staying with a house.
Yeah,
we'll get to a car in a second.
Okay.
But sometimes people get too confused.
Yeah. It's the same principle.
Right.
But yes.
Right.
So I had somebody there. They hired a guy to come in and work on their chimney.
Okay.
This is a professional guy. He climbs up the ladder and falls off his own ladder as a professional. He sues the homeowner.
Okay.
Well, that's a liability claim. Okay. So you're not, in that moment, when you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, you're not so worried about a $2,000 chimney.
Right.
So that's what I mean by keep your deductibles up and keep your liability up.
Okay.
So that you're protected against those hundreds of thousands of dollar claims. That's where people really get in trouble.
So
not
make sure you're
$1,000.
covered on liability would be something that some people overlook. What would you say in the automotive side? What are add-ons that are just luxury and what are add-ons that are necessities?
One of my favorite things, and again, I'm getting, this is dangerous.
I know.
Because this is, my opinion, your opinion.
Right.
I tell her my favorite color is plaid. I learned that from Don Davison, by the way, traveling with him. Whatever you like, I like. You know what I mean? But a couple things like glass. People love to have zero glass deductibles.
Okay.
It's like their favorite thing.
Interesting.
And I'm like, do you realize you're paying the insurance company extra money every single month or year, whatever, so that you don't have to buy a glass? Or you don't have to buy glass when your glass breaks.
Right.
And well, people don't think about that.
Right.
It's like, well, it's actually costing you probably more. You're going to pay the insurance company more over a 5-year span than what if you just bought a windshield.
Right.
And how often do you replace your windshield?
Another one may be rental coverage. If you have 2 or 3 cars,
that's a great example.
You may not want to have rental coverage for.
I have a lot of families have 2 cars.
Right.
And they both need to use them. Well, you probably should have rental coverage.
Something. Right.
Yeah. Roadside assistance, people love roadside assistance. Again, I personally don't carry roadside assistance because if something happens, I'm just going to pay for it. I'm not going to pay the insurance company every month to do that.
Or we'll call our friends, right?
Or we'll call my buddy, my brother, come over and pick me up.
Sure.
But everybody has different feelings on some of those kinds of things.
So what is something that you would say, hey, make sure you think about this? I know
Life
your favorite.
insurance.
What is it?
Life insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, by far. 70% of people that you see walking around are either totally uninsured or terribly underinsured on life insurance. Okay. So we do a lot of property casualty, which is like stuff, but we do a lot of life insurance as well.
So this kind of ties a couple things together here. Do you know the average cost of a funeral today? Or close?
So when I was in the funeral service, we were told it would double about every 10 to 12 years. The cost of a funeral would double. And it was probably 10 to 15 back then. So you should probably call a local funeral home. But I tell people right now, when I first started, I told people, 15 grand, you could think funeral. I'm telling people 20, 25,000. Wow. It's crazy. Right. I mean, and I worked in that industry. I'm not saying there's not reasons for it, but it's just a lot of money.
Yeah. Wow. All right. It's great, man. And that's exciting. I would like to hear your maybe wildest claim in the last 5, 7, 8 years that you've been there. What is the one claim? I have a crazy claim. I went to Shelter Insurance shortly after you started your agency. I think maybe a month.
I think you were my very first claim. I think. I remember it well. Your van was stolen.
Yeah, I walked out of my house and my garage door's open and the van's gone. And I thought Melissa had taken it and somehow I didn't know. Yeah. And I went back in and she was there. Yeah. And
insurance is a scam. You paid 1 month. You paid 1 month premium. We paid you $20,000 for your van.
So man, I got a new Odyssey out of it. But it's crazy. But what? Give us another story.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I just had one. I don't know if this is crazy, but maybe 2-3 weeks ago, guy had we call it a dwelling policy, but he had a rental property. And his tenants left. Okay. Well, they were trying to be good tenants, so they turned off all the heat and walked out, left. This guy lives in like California or something, doesn't have a management company. He's trying to get a new person in there. Man. Well, the water pipe burst, and it's been running for 2 weeks of just water just pouring in this house. And so that was substantial. Insurance was not a scam that day. Not that day.
Wow. Can you imagine that?
On a life insurance side, so this is kind of interesting. I've sold hundreds and hundreds of life policies. Okay. I have never had a client die with life insurance yet.
Really?
I have never
So
delivered.
listen up, folks. If you want to live forever, get a life insurance.
You want to live forever?
policy.
Yeah, it's like being an annuitant at GBS,
That's right. They never die.
Get some life insurance for me and be an annuitant at GBS. You
Man.
will not die.
Methuselah, right there. I promise. Wow, that's great.
So that's kind of an interesting thing. That day's coming.
Sure.
Because we have hundreds of them out there.
Sure.
People will
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
But
Well,
probably,
I have life insurance policy with Shelter, and
Yeah,
I
and
hope I don't use it.
I hope we
I'm not
don't
your
use it for a
first.
while. Not for a while.
Right.
But probably one of the saddest things that I deal with is people that I've talked to about life insurance,
and they didn't do it.
and they don't do it. I actually have a screenshot of someone that I talked to
Wow.
back and forth on Facebook, number of kids, husband, wife, and we just can't afford it. And I'm like,
dude.
you've got to have something. You got to have something, and if you can't afford to pay for it, you can't afford not to have
Right.
it.
And there's two extremes, right?
Yeah.
Because we've both seen the person who can't really afford it go
Yeah.
out and get a $10 million life insurance
And that's
policy when a couple $100,000
Yes.
will get you through, right?
I sell $50,000 policies
Right.
all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
Just have something.
Right.
Well, within a year, this guy died, and I had another one where he really wanted it, and talked to his family. His family said, "I don't know. I think insurance is a scam."
Sure.
That's what they told him.
Yeah.
Totally out of the blue, person dies.
Sure.
The family calls me and said, "Hey, I know, Dad had talked to you about some life insurance," and I'm like,
He never pulled it.
he never did it. And so now they're trying to figure it out for the price of a pizza. They could have been covered. So anyways, those are probably the saddest things I deal with, and
man.
I hate it. I hate it. So if I call you and I talk to you and I will mention life insurance, it's not because I'm trying to just sell something.
Right.
I actually do care about people and want to make sure we're taking
Sure.
care
My
of them.
brother died at 30, I think 35 years old.
Yeah, in a devastating
It was
accident.
devastating. He drowned. And the year before, he had gotten life insurance, and it made all the difference for his family.
Thank God.
And
Yeah.
it's important. We're going to wrap this up, but I want to hear what are some of the myths in the insurance industry that you hear all the time?
Yeah. Well, number one is insurance is a scam.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll tell you another funny story. I just had somebody this week called me. They had made, let's say, 2 years worth of premiums.
Okay.
So a couple $1,000
right.
they've paid us.
Okay.
And I just said, "You just had that accident. You interested to know how much we paid out on that?" "Yeah, absolutely." It was $100,000 that we paid out on one claim. And it's like, lots of people didn't see
Right.
anything. But anyways.
Yeah, right. Wow.
So one of the biggest myth is that insurance is a scam. It really isn't. When you have a bad day, you want to have somebody that you can call to help take care of things.
No, let's hit pause there. We're going to keep going. You said someone to call. Our world today is app-driven, internet-driven. I can get 35 quotes. 15 minutes can save you 15%, right?
All day, yep.
But you said somebody to call.
Yeah.
So are you advocating for a live agent?
Well, I just happen to, yes. I get this all the time. So because people are so premium conscious, they treat insurance like a commodity. It's the only thing that I know of that people call up and they're looking and say, "I'm just looking for the cheapest possible thing." Like they don't do that on the car they buy. They don't do it on the house. They don't do it on the refrigerator. They don't do it on anything. Nobody's saying, "I want the cheap one."
It's because it's a scam.
It's honestly, it's brilliant marketing is what it is. It's you will see for every hour of TV, about 30 minutes of that is insurance companies flooding you with save money, save money, save money. And so that's all people think about. But anyways, where were we talking about?
Yeah, so we were talking about live agents.
Yeah, so because of that, if you go online, people, what they'll do is they keep pulling stuff off and get that price down. They have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
Like I said, full coverage, liability only, the 100, 300, 250, 500, 50, 100, they have no clue.
Right.
And so that you want to have somebody that actually knows what they're talking about and can help steer you. And I tell people all the time, I don't think you need this coverage. I'm an educator. I'm not a salesperson.
Okay.
I help you know what you want.
Sure.
So that, yes, live person. And then when the bad day comes, I was, not too long ago, a lady called me up and she lived in a complex and this complex is on fire and everything's burning to the ground. So I head out, I drive there right away. I go up and I'm talking to the people there and it was interesting. There's probably 8 houses on fire at one time. And the fireman says, finally, an insurance person's here. I was the only insurance person that showed up
Wow.
on that day. And I'm sitting there hugging this lady as she's watching everything she owns burn to the ground. And her cats died. It was awful. It was really sad. And, a lot of times people think insurance, they think sales and stuff like that. And in that moment, I'm like, this is actually what we do.
Yeah.
We actually
and really
take care of people.
kind of ministry, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Pray with the lady.
Sure.
Help the lady. So anyways.
Yeah.
But
let's
yes.
go back now. The biggest myth is insurance is a scam.
Yeah.
The next biggest myth.
Red sports cars are more expensive. That's
just not true?
Not true. No.
Really?
No, I don't even know the color of people's cars. It's so funny. People call me up. I need to cancel. I sold the silver car, and I'm like, I have no idea what car the silver car is.
So
Could care
are
less.
sports cars more expensive?
It's based on, honestly, it's based on value of car.
Okay.
So if a sports car is more expensive,
Okay.
but like a Lexus that's a brand new Lexus versus a 10-year-old Mustang, the Lexus is going to be more expensive.
Okay, cool.
Young male drivers, that's something else they should know. Yeah. Young male drivers, young female drivers are terribly expensive. Buy an old junk car that you can go liability only on. We can assign the young driver to that car and help get your rates down cheaper.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Sorry.
Well, no, that's great. That's why
Get me
I
on my
wanted you
soapbox.
here. I love it. So we're wrapping this up.
Yeah.
Tell us how people can contact you. You're here for a purpose. I believe in you. And you're an alum of the school. You've done a great work out there. How can people reach out to you to get answers, to ask the questions that they have, and maybe even get a life insurance policy? How can they get
if you're looking to sales, I'll give you my cell phone. No, I'm just kidding. My office line is 513-816-7773. We have a little phone tree on there, unfortunately, because we have multiple people now to try to get you to the right department.
Sure.
If you're looking to ask questions about coverages, press 1.
Good. And it's more than shelter. Shelter's kind of your mainstay, but there are other things.
We have like 200 companies we write with.
Okay.
But shelter's kind of the bread and butter. That's kind of where that's our premier company. They're amazing. That's another thing I'll just mention. If you go online and you look up, I try not to disparage any company, but there are good companies and there are bad companies, just like anything.
Sure.
And look up top 10 worst insurance companies.
Sure.
My guess is 70% of the people watching this podcast are in that list.
Okay. So pay attention to what insurance you have. Any final thoughts?
Love the school. Love what you're doing. I'm actually really enjoying this podcast. I've been watching. I've watched each one, not knowing I was going to be on here. But yeah, love it so much. Love everything about this place.
Well, thank you, Nathan, and thank you for your investment in God's kingdom through the work that you did here at the school, then as you went into the funeral business, back to the school, and now into the insurance realm. You've been a blessing, and thank you for all that. And thank you for coming today. Yeah. And I've enjoyed this conversation, and perhaps we'll have you back to do that deep dive on the actuaries.
If somebody wants to know about actuary science, please just give me a call anytime.
Oh, man. Hey, thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.